What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the PrizePicks Picks Show. We've got a very fun show today for you guys. PGA, MLB, some multipliers, boosted payouts, all the good stuff coming to you today. Let's start with baseball because we have one pick carrying over from yesterday. We loved Kyle Gibson yesterday. Game got canceled. Did it cost me a lot of money on DraftKings? Yes, it did. But it's back today. We can at least take advantage on Underdog, on PrizePicks, even on Boom Fantasy potentially. So we're going to start there. Let's go to the homepage of the PrizePicks Prop Tool. And you'll see very first pick, Kyle Gibson, more than 4.5 strikeouts. We've got him projected at 6.08. Have that at 75.5%. And somebody asked me yesterday, like, did Kyle Gibson get good recently? And on one hand, his numbers do look a lot better of late, but the main reason why this projects well is not because we suddenly think that Gibson is great. It's because this Atlanta lineup, not very good, very top-heavy in skill, but even their skill guys, Matt Olson, Marcell Ozuna, their high strikeout guys in the bottom of the order is just bad. He's on Underdog at 5.5 for 1.25x, so 58.5% for 1.25x. That's the one that I like the most. And Underdog doesn't even have a 4.5 available. It was up earlier, got taken down. Now there's a 3.5 and a 5.5. If he's added for a 6.5 later, I might even be interested in that one because that would the 6x or the 6.5 would probably be 2x. So let's see what 6.5 is. So 39% for 2x would be really, really strong. You might just say, you know what, I've already got a boosted payout here at 5.5. So that's what I'm going to take. I have no issue with that. I love the 1.25x for Kyle Gibson. The next place I want to go, shout out to MLB Dream. He calls Dallas Keuchel the greatest fade in the history of sports, and he might be right about that. We actually only have Semien as the only hitter available for Texas. So facing Milwaukee and Dallas Keuchel. Keuchel just signed, just brought up. We want to fade this guy as much as possible. The only hitter that we have here is Marcus Semien, 6.5 fantasy points. Oh, we have now been given Corey Seager 7.5 fantasy points here on PrizePicks. I really don't mind this pairing. I don't think it's going to show up super well here. Yeah, but look, I think Keuchel's worse than the tool thinks he is. Semien, 6.5 is great, but we're going to get really fun on Underdog. Let me head over to Underdog right now, in fact. And let me show you guys the one that I am loving. So, Marcus Semien. Remember, this whole thing is about betting against Dallas Keuchel. If you wanted his 1.5 hits plus run plus RBI, it's 0.85x. So I don't love that. But in the first 3 innings, he should be able to face Keuchel twice. And that is 1.25x. So 1.25x Kyle Gibson, higher than 5.5 strikeouts, and 1.25x for Marcus Semien, higher than 1.5 first through third inning hit plus run plus RBIs. That's a very fun one. I very, very rarely go to this type of play. You guys probably haven't seen me do it ever, but this is one that I love because the bullpen is not what we want to attack. Keuchel is who we want to attack. And Semien as the leadoff hitter should face him twice in those first 3 innings. So absolutely love this one. Like I'm not sure that I would put the difference between his overall 1.5 hits plus run plus RBI and his first through third innings that different. If 0.85x is fair, I think this should be like 1.05x. There's a very good chance that this is also a good value, in which case this should be more like this could be, even be like 1.0 or 0.9 itself, something like that. But I love this one. That's the whole point. And then those are kind of the only 2 MLB plays that I love today. So I will continue to look throughout the day, find some stuff on Boom. Maybe we can make a 3-pick play there or a 3-pick play just of MLB plays on Underdog. But I also love some PGA plays. So if we're going to go that route, yes, we can't get our money tonight. We have to wait until they actually play tomorrow. But that's a small price to pay for some really, really solid ones. So a couple stats right off the board from our guy, Josh Culp. We see an average of, I think it was, you know what, let me get the actual numbers. Let me just pull that up again instead of going by memory. 2.31 bogeys or worse per round and 4.17 birdies or better per round. Now, those are the field averages. So you look at the better players in the field, obviously it's going to tilt in their favor. But the average birdie or better number that we see is 5.5. So it's up there. Now, there are two ways to play this, and I'm honestly good with either one. The first is to go higher on both birdies and bogeys. The second is to go lower on both. In either case, we're going to end up boosting the payout. Let me get the PGA plays out of here for a moment. We'll just build them in. So first of all, we see from the two plays we have, we've now boosted. Whoops, that's not what I wanted to do. Let me go back and let me find Kyle Gibson. So now we've got these two plays. So already we've gone from 3x to 4.68x because of these multipliers. Now we're going to be able to boost the payout even more by going with a few higher than and then a few higher than on birdies and bogeys, or lowers on each. That's going to boost it because it views that as inverse correlation. You guys have heard me talk about this a bunch. Let's see. So if we go to birdies, two ways to play this. The first is to say, okay, there are a lot of guys at 5.5. Everyone, by the way, is at either 5.5 or 5.0. So we either want to find the best guys at 5.5 and go higher. Tom Kim, Cam Young. Cam Young, by the way, he's like 21st in birdie or better rate and 130 something in bogey avoidance. So that's why he's at the top of the birdie or better numbers. So we can either go higher than them, or we can find some of the other guys at 5.5 who aren't as good at making birdies. And that's where I want to go. Will Zalatoris. This course is all about two things. Distance off the tee is 5% more predictive than usual. Accuracy, approach play, and around the green, all less predictive than usual here. And then a huge increase, 40% increase in the predictive value of putting. Zalatoris is a terrible putter. So I don't think Zalatoris is going to make as many birdies. I like his lower. That takes the 3-pick play to 9.37. Then we go to bogeys, and I'm going to take two lower than plays here, which again will boost the payout. Two that I like the most. I want to check one thing real quick, actually. So there are three guys that I'm looking at most closely here: Minwoo Lee, Keith Mitchell, and Ben Griffin. Keith Mitchell, 16th in bogey avoidance, 8th in birdie or better rate. So he's good at both, but he leans towards birdies. Ben Griffin, 12th in bogey avoidance, something like 75th in birdie or better rate. He's an excellent putter, a little bit accurate off the tee, pretty good with his irons, good short game. So just very solid skill set for bogey avoidance. I want to check what Minwoo Lee's splits are, because in theory, he's great off the tee, really solid short game, excellent putter. That has the makings of somebody who's great at bogey avoidance. But I kind of remember him being a scorer, so I just want to double check this. In fact, yeah, 115th in bogey avoidance, 82nd in birdie or better percentage. So I think what I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to flip this. Now, part of that is because he's played all of the best fields, all of the best tournaments. But there's also a case to be made that, you know what, even though he fits in theory of being a great bogey avoidance guy, we've got two guys in Ben Griffin and Keith Mitchell that we know are great at bogey avoidance. So let's just go there. We're going to go Keith Mitchell and Ben Griffin lower than 1.5 bogeys. And we'll see what this does to the payout. So lower on, lower on Keith Mitchell, lower on Ben Griffin. And now the 5-pick is 33.5. Now we want to get this to a 6-pick. We can do this in a couple ways. We can go to birdies again, and we can try to find something that makes the 6-pick play boosted even more. So, like, for example, if we went lower on Akshay Bhatia, this would get it all the way to 45x, almost a 5x for a 5 out of 6. I don't want to go to Bhatia, though. The guy that I was looking at earlier, Alex Noren, has been taken down. He was at 5.5. The reason why I loved Noren there was because Noren is 3rd in bogey avoidance and like 92nd in birdies or better. So the prototypical guy. Well, the reason we didn't go to him in bogey avoidance, by the way, is because he's at 0.9x. If he was just the standard, he would have been my top choice in the bogey avoidance picks. So instead, I think what we'll do is let's see if we can go back to the tool. And let's see if we can find a third MLB play that we really like. Let's Let's look at strikeouts. We've got Cutter Crawford as an option, Yariel Rodriguez, Joey Estes, Reynaldo Lopez. You know what? Reynaldo Lopez fantasy points might be the way to go. We've gone with him a lot this year. And it has worked a lot. And then we get some correlation between the two pitchers. His fantasy points aren't as good here. But, all right, let's see where Reynaldo is on Underdog. Nothing. Oh, I'm in PGA. Reynaldo. So 33.5 fantasy points. We don't like that. Higher than 5.5 strikeouts. So a worse number on Underdog than on PrizePicks. Definitely don't like that. I think that idea is a bust. We're going to have to find something else. In fact, you know what? Let me check in with 33.5. Yeah. If you guys have any other one-offs that you really like, that you want me to look at, let's see if we can find something to turn this into a really great 6-pick play here on Underdog for the day. Again, I mean, this is going to be like a 40-45x play, something like that. So it's going to be a fun one. This is going to be a really fun one to sweat. And then once we have that one, we can break this down into, okay, if you don't want to do just the 6-pick play, if you want to do a series of 3-pick plays, what are the best ways to do that? We can talk through that one as well. And honestly, like one thing we could do here is we could just go to PGA. We could just say, all right, we like Minwoo Lee for lower than 1.5 bogeys as well. Like we could just do this. It's still 38.3. But remember, if we were to go higher on bogeys, like that's a big difference. 45x all the way down to 38.3. That's about the correlation. So it's not the thing I typically like to do, but maybe because we already have some really, really good multipliers, we're already looking at something that's not likely to hit. Like, you know, if this hit once out of 30 times, once out of 30, we'd be swimming in cash. So maybe this is still the way to go, but I want to find a different one-off. Let's see, McIntyre birdies, Kirby fantasy points. All right, let's look at these two. Let's start with Kirby fantasy points since we can go right to the tool. Let's see. Okay, is Kirby near the top? Which Kirby? What do we have for him? Doesn't look like we're a huge fan of Kirby. Kirby is so tough to model, by the way, because so much of what we do relies on the idea that pitchers can't maintain outstanding command over the long run. Kirby seems to be one of the exceptions. Another reason why Nola is also typically disliked by the model. Maybe a little bit more than he should be, although in Nola's case, he also just hasn't had as good of stuff of late. Had a much better start against Detroit, but we still got that 10x payout when we tied on Boom Fantasy the other day with Nola. So I don't love the Kirby, but I'm not as against it as the tool is. If Kirby is 35 on Underdog, let's see, where was Kirby? Okay, he's 35 there too. Okay, not the discrepancy I was hoping for. All right, let's see. Bobby McIntyre, his birdies. Let's see. I think that he's a pretty good birdie maker, but could be wrong. He's definitely not of the quality of some of these other players, so I like the idea here for sure. 32nd in bogey avoidance, 70th in birdie or better percentage. That is more of what we're looking for. Definitely more of what we're looking for. Okay. So if I were to, I'm going to share this tab again. So if we find Robert McIntyre and we go lower on 5.5 birdies, this gets all the way to that 45x number. So this is going to be tough to say no to right here. Let me go through the birdie guys one last time. Let's see. Certainly don't want one of the top guys like Zalatoris. Kirk is a birdie maker. Rye might be a good one to look at too. Not the best putter for sure. So we could survive Rye in the sense that like maybe he hits the ball close a bunch and just doesn't make putts all day long. 7th in bogey avoidance, 91st in birdie or better percentage for Aaron Rye. So that is another one that's worth looking at. In fact, does he have a 1.5 bogey number? Wow, he does have a 1.5 bogey or worse number. My goodness, we can build a lot of PGA plays with these. This would be fun. All right. So since we didn't use Rye's bogeys here, I want to use his birdies. I think that's a better play than McIntyre. He's even more skewed towards bogey avoidance than birdie